Hello, hi everyone, and thanks for being here. I'm Chantal Imbach from Photos in Order, and today I'm running something new I haven't done before. I have done a few lives, but never like a Q&A session. So I was thinking that we, you know, I'm just going to be here and you guys can ask all your questions that you have in regards to photo management. And I did receive one, actually quite a big one just before. Tried to print it out, but it didn't come out. So I might have to read it off my screen in a minute. Hello, Angela. And just give me a little wave or a like or something so I can see that you can actually hear me. And right, so I'll get back to that question that Deb just sent in. Deb, if you're here, you can maybe put your question in the comment, or anybody else who has a question, because I cannot hear you. You can only hear me, hopefully. Just write in the comments and ask away, and I'll give my best to answer. I don't know everything, but I'll try. Hi, Angela. Okay, let me get, before I get to Deb's question, I want to I want to talk about something that I get asked quite a lot, which is how to store physical photos, because we probably still all have prints. We do have heaps and heaps of digital, but prints is still a thing. And, even if we might inherit them or we have our own still, because we're not 20 anymore. So I thought I'd share a few things about photo storage. So I'm going to show you a few things that are my favorite products for that. So I've prepared a few things. So you can see one box here. I hope you can see. It looks a bit messy, but that's how it looks. So this is my absolute favorite. That's a Creative's Memory power sword box, they call it. It's made from photo-safe plastic. So it's polypropylene, which is photo-safe. And photo-safe means that it's not going to damage your photos over time. It's great to archive photos. It was originally made for a different purpose, because I'll put it down. It's quite heavy. There we go. It actually holds 1,200 prints, which is great. So that's how I archive my own photos and also clients' photos after we've scanned or not scanned. Some don't want to scan. And this box comes with 6 of these little compartments. So in each of these, you can store up to 200 photos. And originally, the reason for these compartments is because this box is made for scrapbookers, so they can store their prints in there and they can just take out that little one rather than the whole box, because it does get heavy. And then with that, they can go to their scrapbooking workshops and do their thing. But I really find it handy also for sorting. And you can see this is work in progress. This is not at a stage where it's being archived yet. These are scans that will be done soon, and then they can be archived. So this is my absolute favorite. It comes at a price though. It's not exactly cheap, but I find it's worth it. So another way to store photos that's not, oh, this is heavy, sorry. It's not as costly, but it doesn't look as nice. This is just simple cardboard. And it's made from archival quality cardboard by a Melbourne company, actually, that I like to use. They called Archival Survival. And these sort of boxes, they come in all shapes and sizes. They've got a huge offering. So in this case, these are just, you know, the photo envelopes that I keep, and it's also an archive, but it doesn't have to look nice, and it's just rather than throwing it in any other box. And it is photo safe, so again, it's not going to damage the photos over time. And I will share some links later in the comments if you're interested to check these companies out for yourself, if you do need anything like that. So that's another thing. Now, what to do with big photos? Just give me a sec. Archival Survival, the company that does the cardboard boxes, also does plastic boxes in all shapes and sizes. So these, as you can see, they're not very high, so I can't stand photos into that. But what I use them for, and this is only a small A4 box, but I use them also in bigger formats, like up to A2, for example, to store kids' artwork, you know, the big things that sometimes they bring home, or big photos that need to lay flat. You can't stand them up in this archival box. Plus, this is way too small for that, for the bigger formats. So I use one of these to lay them flat. And again, it's of course photo safe, so it's not going to do any damage to your photos. Now, another option in terms of storing your prints, what you could also do, rather than just put them in a box, because that's obviously, if you want to go back and look at these prints, it's not a very nice way to look at prints when they're in a box, you know, 1,200 photos. That's not how you put them on display and look at them. That's more, you know, you sort them, you scan them, you archive them, and you put them in a cupboard. Okay, so if you don't want to do that, I've got another thing here. So that comes in a nice box, and so in that box there is a binder, and this is just a sample book here, and I don't have photos in it, but to show you for the sake of demonstration. And there's different suppliers of things like that. In Australia, again, Archival Survival is a great one, Melbourne one. There's another one called Imbach, also Australian company. They do a similar thing. So you can order sleeves in all kind of shapes and sizes. So there's one for CDs. You've got even, you know, 6x8 photos. You've got A4. You can use it. That's a standard 4x6. So you have the sleeves, and you can put your photos in there. So if you do think that after sorting your prints and you're not a scrapbooker, that might be a good option for you. And it's quick, you know, because it's got the sleeves. So you just slip them in, and that's it. And they have a good one also for slides that holds a whole page full of slides, and also for negatives, which can be quite good if you want to keep your negatives in an orderly way, rather than just throw them in a box or throw them out even. So that's another option. And I've had clients who actually had these sort of albums, but they were empty and they never used them. So it came in really, really handy after we've scanned everything. They had then they put them into the sleeves, and now they can look at them and still enjoy the prints and have the digitized version, which is good. So that's a little bit about how to store your printed photos. Let me just check. Yeah, also when you store printed photos, make sure, as you can see here in that box, with the photos standing up, don't use rubber bands or paper clips, these sort of things to bundle your photos, because that will damage the photos, and it's just not a good thing. Don't do that. If you do need to do that, use index cards to, slot in between, but not rubber bands and and things like that, or tape even. I've seen tape before. So yeah, and just make sure whatever you use that it's photo safe. And you know, sometimes it says photo save on albums, but I don't always believe it. So you might actually want to double check and find out from the supplier what exactly they have used. So anything that is pure polypropylene, polyester, or polyethylene, that's fine. That's not going to harm your photos in terms of the plastics. So again, I will share a few links if you want to check that out. And you can also go on my website where I've got a resource page and you find more links there and you can check it out yourself. So now I need to get back to that question that Deb had, but let me just check it on the phone because I can't see it there. Just give me a sec. Sorry. Let me, oh dear, where is it? Okay, here we go. So, hi Tricia. So we have the situation. It's a long question here, so I'm trying to get at the essence and answer that. So she has photos on the mobile phone, which is a Samsung, on an external drive, on a NAS, and in OneDrive. Is there a simple way to eliminate duplicates? Right, that's a really great question because we sort of probably all struggle with that more or less. So to eliminate duplicates, what I recommend is really it's one of our golden rules to create a photo hub. That means all your photos, and I'm talking digital photos now, all your digital photos should be in one place. It's just like any other thing that you might want to organize. If you want to organize your sock drawer, all your socks should be in the same drawer and not all over the shop. It's exactly the same with the photos. That doesn't mean that you don't have photos on your phone or on a drive or in the cloud. The main thing is you have that one hub, that central, where your master files, so to speak, live. So that can either be on your computer, ideally, or on an external hard drive if your computer is not big enough to hold all your photos, because it can become quite big. So that should be your hub. And then you do share using the cloud. You might want to share photos, you upload them to somewhere, you back them up from there. So once you've got that hub, everything becomes a lot easier. And that's the main goal, to get everything in there. And once you've got that in there, that's when you deduplicate. And so it's like two things. So one is you want to, and don't take that the wrong way, I call it the mess. So you want to clean up the photo mess, right? But then once you've got that, the next step is to have routines and habits in place to maintain what you've cleaned up. And because photos keep coming in, so they keep coming into that hub. And once you've got that system going, you shouldn't actually have duplicates anymore, but you will have if you go and clean up the mess. Most people have quite a lot of duplicates, and there is software to help you. So when you're on a Windows, and I believe Deb, let me just check, yeah, Deb is on the Windows PC. So my absolute favorite deduplication software is called Duplicate Cleaner Pro. And again, I have no affiliation but that's my absolute favorite. I use it all the time on Windows, and I'm a Mac person, but this is the one software I have to say I haven't found anything that's nearly as good as that one on a Mac. So go for it. Get the Duplicate Cleaner Pro. It will find you duplicates, and the great thing is it's not only checking for duplicate photos but also movies, or you could find duplicate documents, you can find anything. And what it does not only find files that have the same file name and the same capture date, let's say, it actually looks at the photos. So if you've got a version of the same photo and one is bigger and one is smaller, it will find that, and then you can say, I want to keep the bigger file, because you always want to go for the best possible quality, and you can get rid of the smaller one. But you can, well, not you can, I recommend to only do that once you have gathered everything in one place. So I hope that answers that one question about the duplication, but I know Deb's got some more, so hold on, just give me a sec. Some pictures are duplicated but with different file names. Yes, that's what I mean. Okay, I should have read everything. So that's what I just said. It will find the duplicates even if they have different file names and if the metadata is different. So metadata is information about your photo. So if you have added keywords to your photo and then you've got a duplicate of the same but without the keywords, it will still find it. And it's not going to delete automatically. That's when you come into play where you have to decide, okay, which version do I want to keep? Usually it's the biggest one and the one with the richest metadata. So if you've got one that has more information like keywords, that's what you want to keep, because you don't want to redo it all. And this software, that does help. So I forgot to mention, of course, that's when you're on Windows. Again, Duplicate Cleaner Pro. When you're on a Mac, you go to the App Store and you get Photo Sweeper. It's not very expensive. And Mac also has another option called Power Photos. So these are your two options if you're on a Mac to find duplicates. But again, the same principle applies. Get them into a hub first, gather the mess, then deduplicate. So having duplicates on several devices, again, it comes back to the same thing. Gather them first, copy everything into one place. That's where you start. And yes, that's a very common one here. One more from Deb. I'll get to Tricia soon. I see another question there. Large family, 8 people with mobiles and PCs. How to coordinate filing and backing other people's photos up. So that's very common. And again, I highly recommend to, maybe you need to sit together as a family and decide how you want to move forward. Do you want to have one family photo hub, and who is the keeper of that? So let's assume that's you. You are the keeper, you look after that hub, you gather all the photos from all the different devices, and let's say you have already cleaned up the mess and you've got a good structure going, you find your photos, they're filed, they're backed up. So on a more regular basis like maintenance, what you do is, again, it depends on the devices. You might have to gather everyone's phones, plug them into your computer and download their new photos so that you can add them to your family photo hub. There's a whole lot, there is so many variables, and oftentimes that is a problem because also oftentimes there's no obvious or easy way to then share things. So there are a lot of variables. That's where it pays off to really, sit down and think about think it through. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to have in the end? And is it even possible? One very common issue is that, and mainly that's for Apple people, but also for other families, that we all take photos, but we only have one family photo hub. So oftentimes then it's only the one person who has sort of access to that hub. And for the others, it becomes a little bit harder. There are ways to work around that, but that's where it gets very, very technical, and everyone's different, and the variables are just endless. So I can't really give you a great answer, I'm afraid, to that, except that it is common, and what would be needed is a real assessment and to develop a plan how to go about it. Okay, so one last one I've got here before I move on is, should I rename photos? Yes, ideally, absolutely, because I'm a big fan of renaming, but I'm also very aware that it's a big ask because it does take time. And that's where a photo management software definitely comes in and can save you heaps of time. They're not all easy to learn. There's some really, really good ones. My favorite that I use on a daily basis is Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom. But that's bit of a learning curve, so that's not a self-explanatory easy program. It also comes at a price. It's subscription based. One free option, currently still free, is the Adobe Bridge program that you can download. If you've got an account with Adobe, which is free to open, you can download Adobe Bridge, and that's actually a good tool for Mac and Windows users to not only rename files but also to organize files, or I should say photos, really, it's for photos, and adding keywords, culling, you've got a better view rather than clicking through a simple folder structure with, you've got the year 2020 and then January, and you got to click through all these folders to view them. That's not a very nice and attractive way to look at your photos. So Adobe Bridge might be an option for you. Again, on my website, there's a resource page where I mention a couple of renamer files, apps, sorry. So for Windows, go check out Advanced Renamer. Bridge, I have mentioned, that's for Windows and Mac. And if you're on a Mac, what I also quite like and use sometimes is an app called Name Changer. Again, you'll find the links on the website. So that's the renaming. Now I see we've got another question there. Tricia, I have an iPhone and I have been trying to upload all my photos and videos to my PC. It constantly keeps crashing. And I've noticed it only happens when trying to upload videos. Is there another way to upload videos? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, there might be many reasons for that, Tricia. Generally speaking, iPhones and Windows PCs, so basically, Apple devices connected to PCs just don't play nicely. Simple as that. Because Apple wants you to stay in the Apple ecosystem, which makes totally sense from a business perspective, but they make it really, really hard for PC users, which is probably the majority still, because most people do have a PC and not a Mac. So I'm not sure why it would freeze. One thing that comes to mind straight away is maybe if they are long videos, which I that, but if they are longer videos, like 2-3 minutes or even longer, that might be a reason. Maybe your PC is an older one and just can't handle the amount of data. I can't really tell you like that. What I highly recommend for iPhone users who have a PC is to get an app called iMazing. That makes it so much easier to transfer your phone photos onto PC. I always use it with my clients. It does a few things. So it not only makes it easy to transfer, it also, you know, you've got these new file formats, like the extension is HEIC. That's a format that only Apple devices can read. So what you need to do is to convert these files into JPEGs. Now, when you've got iMazing and you plug your phone in and you open the camera roll and you select the photos that you want to transfer to your hard drive, and it's got the HEIC format, it will automatically convert them into JPEG. So you don't have to do that extra step. Otherwise, you'll have to do that manually with another app. So you don't have to do that. Another option, of course, if you do use that format, is to turn it off on your iPhone. That would be even easier. But what iMazing also does, it actually backs up your phone, and it does a lot more. You can extract and copy over photos that are in your text messages and in your WhatsApp. They all show up in iMazing, and you can simply copy and move them onto your hard drive on your PC. So this is really my favorite tool. And look, one of my mottos is actually to use what you have. But in terms of iPhones and PCs, I have, from experience, come to the conclusion iMazing is the best way, and I've stopped using everything else because, as you know, when you plug it in, it will your iPhone will come up in the Windows Explorer as a device, and you can then find these Apple 101, 102 folders and all that. And that version, that option also, that works fine when you delete your phone photos after you've transferred them. But if you keep them, it can create a whole new mess. So it's not ideal. That's hence I do recommend that one program really. And that also, of course, transfers the video. Now, something that also comes to mind to be aware of when you're an Apple user or an iPhone user and Windows PC. Windows can't read live photos, and I believe the portrait format on iPhones can't be read either by PC. So what happens with live photos, Windows creates two files out of the one. It creates one photo file, that's a JPEG, and then it creates a 3-second video. So every live photo you take on your Windows PC will double. With a file, with a 3-second video file, that's in most cases probably completely useless and not needed. So again, turn live off. It's a nice little feature. I call them Harry Potter photos because they move. But it's just a playful thing. It's of no real use, I find. That's my personal opinion. So just make sure to turn it off. But sometimes we turn it back on by accident because it's right next to the flash on your iPhone screen, and then we turn it off again, on again. So that's another thing to be mindful of, that, you know, these two things, Apple and PC, they just don't like each other. So that's something to be a bit aware of. It doesn't mean that you can't use them. There's always a solution. So I hope that helps a little bit. Deb is asking, is Duplicate Cleaner Pro software or an app? Well, I use the same words for the two things these days. It's a software. You can go online and download it from the supplier. I think you can trial it for free. These days you can trial most softwares for free for a certain amount of time. or you can have it for free, but you can only delete like 5 photos or 10 photos, and then you got to pay. It's not very expensive. I believe it's from the UK, and it might cost around, in Australian dollars, it might cost around the $60 or $70 mark, something like that. I'm not quite sure. But if you believe you have a lot of duplicates, it's definitely worth to get it. It will make your life a lot easier. That's right. So we've been on for 30 minutes, and I think I'm going to wrap up unless there are any more burning questions today. If not, we'll wrap it up, and I'll hopefully see you in a month's time. I'm planning to do these Q&A sessions on a more regular basis, just to give you guys the option to have your questions answered. And in the meantime, don't ever hesitate to send me a message or give me a call if you have any questions, or if you'd like me to talk about specific topics. I'll do that, and I hope I see you again next month. Bye, take care.